Whenever you're ready, Chairwoman.
It's now 6:01. We're going to call this meeting of the CUNA Arts Commission to order. And we will first of all do roll call.
Second Chair Tom Mattis. Vice Chair Dave Lyon.
Present.
And Chairwoman Deb Ann Ripp.
Present. Thank you, and thank you to all of you for being here and for committing your time and efforts. It's certainly appreciated. Doesn't look like we have any introductions for tonight, so we will move on to looking at the action item of approving our regular meeting minutes from February 28th. And we did receive a typed copy, essentially verbatim. So were there any corrections or additions that anyone could see from those minutes? Seeing none, I would ask for unanimous approval for those minutes and to be filed as they have been written. Thank you. Our next item of business is a call to artist release. So Leah, can you lead us through that?
Yes. So, wanted to talk about the call to artist release. The last we spoke about it was at the meeting prior to the grand opening. We were discussing about doing one so we can get sort of an inventory of artists so that they can display their work at the center. So I worked after the grand opening on an information packet, an application, and a flyer for that. Yeah, so that's in the agenda packet. In the packet, I tried to be as inclusive as possible, so I included performance arts, visual arts, literary arts. So there's a wide breadth of options for things that could happen at the center. A lot of different arts categories, included information on how art would be hung, like 2D art at the center, using the hanging system that we do, so that anybody who is looking to submit their work would have that information before they submitted their work, so they can decide whether or not something they'd want to do or they can do with their pieces. I put in there our one display case as well for 3D works. Selection would be done by the Arts Commission, looking at submissions, and then again the Arts Commission would choose which pieces would be selected and how they would submit those as well. With their submission, they would turn in an application, an artist statement, an image list, and the pieces they would want to submit for show at the center. So that's all in here, and the flyer as well. So I guess the discussion here today really is going forward with that. We have all the pieces necessary at this point, the packet, the application, and the flyer set to release for that. It's just a matter of when I was thinking, or, looking to hear your thoughts about releasing it next week, possibly onto the social media and the website. I would get with the coworker that works on the website to work on also updating the commission page, because the commission page is outdated. So putting that information on here, putting the packet and application on here. So as soon as next week, that's what I was thinking. And if we go ahead with that, we would be looking to select artists depending on who submits artworks, possibly the last week of July. It's sort of a short timeline, but that would be looking at if we wanted to display artists for the next rotation, which would be at the end of August. So I was thinking, end of July, we could set a meeting, try to set a meeting to select or look at application select works, so that there's enough time for those artists to notify them, set up a time before the rotation occurs. So just wanting to see your thoughts about that plan, really, for the release.
Well, it looks to me like you've done really nice work, and it's very thorough. I would certainly be in favor of getting that released just as quickly as you're comfortable. And then I presume that we would have sort of some, it would be ongoing, but that we would let people know there's this deadline if you're looking at this quarter, this deadline, probably that would have to adjust as well.
Yeah, for the release, I could definitely do that. It would be an ongoing. We could have it out. At least for now, we could have it out indefinitely. You know, so as we're starting it, more people get to know that we have a submission for showing art, and then maybe as we build more of a base of artists or more, word of mouth, we can do set times or something. But I think, a good point for this first release would be, in the statement I write up for it, I could put, if you're looking to be considered for the rotation starting August, submit by the last week of July or have a certain date on there, so that is set. And people know that if they want to show in August, they'd have to submit by this time. I could put that in the release for sure.
That'd be great. And then obviously having the submissions will be accepted at any time.
Yeah.
for Future showings. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, and then if we get enough, we could, set another meeting to select works for the end of the year. Because I know I have a working list of a few artists who've shown interest in showing their work. So when that goes out officially, I will send it to them or contact them personally about showing those works. Like the man that came in yesterday to the center looking to show his works, I would contact him personally or the other folks that have. So I feel fairly confident that we'll have some submissions for the beginning of the next rotation.
Yeah. And that, I certainly, like you said, it will grow over time as people realize and notice. Excellent. Okay. And would there be, I know that that you have done a very nice job of like doing the history display and then doing a history activity and then changing the history display. Would we also try to incorporate some of those participation activities with the art, or are we at that point yet?
Yeah, I think definitely would look to doing that. I think that'd be great. It's later in the packet, but I also included the template we approved at the last meeting. On there, we did, I put in there a event that we held in April at the center, the living history presentation that we set up on a Saturday. That was sort of a trial. A few people showed up. And I was thinking, we could continue that on with arts. So if we show, this is, just thoughts that I've had, but if we select artists for the next rotation, we could ask those artists or the artists that's selected to show their works if they would want to do like an artist talk on a weekend like we did with the living history presentation. So we have those kind of activities as well for art and history because it's the Arts and History Center. So yeah, those were my thinking of doing arts events like that.
It sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, did you have any thoughts about those things?
I guess my idea is, will the artwork be available for sale? Will they have a price on them? Or
Good
will it
question.
be kind of an auction?
Yeah, good question. So in the packet, I did put an option in there that if the artist wants to or chooses to, they can sell their piece at the center. I don't think we'll have a visible price tag, but if I will make sort of a piece list, listing all the pieces that are shown. They'll have labels as well, but I think like on a stand or something, we can have pieces listed out and whether they're for sale or not. So that is an option for artists if they choose to do so. The one thing is that the center would look to get a 20% commission of that piece because we're putting it on display. So if the artists choose to do so, they can do so at the center.
If a piece of art is sold, who do they pay?
Yeah, so that would be paid to, it would be paid to the city because the city runs the center, and then the artist would get their 80% of that piece, but it would be paid to the city, and then the artist would be paid as well.
They would bring their payment into City Hall, or?
Yeah. Yes.
If I may jump in, payment would be to the city clerk for that.
Any other thoughts or concerns? Is it sufficient that we've just discussed and we are in favor, or do you need an action?
No action. It was just really discussing the upcoming plans for that. Really, yeah, no action needed. Just getting your thoughts and questions and things for that.
Okay, looks like great work, Leah. Thank you. All right, then we will move on to reports. And under reports A, CUNA Arts Commission update.
Yes. So for this one, I put this on here because at long time ago now, but in our meeting, I think it was in December of last year, discussed making the Arts Commission officially the Arts and History Commission. But as it happens now, we've decided to just keep it solely the Arts Commission, the CUNA Arts Commission, because the CUNA Historical Society still remains its own entity and its own organization. So while they have their own organization, will keep the CUNA Arts Commission its own as well. That doesn't mean that there's no opportunity for collaboration, because I do attend CUNA Historical Society meetings. I attend CUNA Arts Commission meetings. So there's, and Dave, who's a member of the CUNA Historical Society, is a member of the commission. There will still be chances for collaboration, significant collaboration, especially since they are housed in the same building. I just wanted to bring that update here to the commission.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That was one of the things that I was wondering where we were in the process, so that's helpful to get that clarified. All right. And then we move to report B, budget for fiscal year 24-25.
Yes, so that was a question that was at the last meeting as well. So I decided to bring that here. The budget for the fiscal year of 2024 is $25,000. None of those funds have been used as we've been focused on opening the facility first, but that is the amount for fiscal year 2024, and the requested amount for fiscal year 2025 will be the same amount, but I just wanted to bring that forward because that was asked at the last meeting as well.
So none of that is committed for maintenance or staff position or upkeep, or that's strictly for arts projects?
Yeah,
then?
Arts Commission and the center programming.
Okay. And so is that something that the Arts Commission would suggest, or is that something that you kind of look at and then you tell us what you're doing? How does that work through that process?
In regards to the funds, or
The funds.
are you asking if I do the funds, or I'm not sure I understand your question.
I'm asking if the commission could make possible suggestions as to how that would be spent during a fiscal year, or is that strictly something that the city would look at, these are our priorities, and then that comes to the commission and we look at that too, or how the process might work for expending those funds? And when do those all have to be expended for 24?
So the fiscal year for 2024 ends September 30th. And then a new fiscal year will start. But for the process to use those funds, I'd have to get more clarification myself. I don't want to misspeak about how the process occurs. I would have to be, of course, approved. But yeah, I'd have to get more clarification for that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. It kind of ties in with D, the grant discussion, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that too when we get to that. Dave, any questions on the budget from your perspective?
I just wonder when Leah is doing some work on various projects, history or art or whatever. And does this budget include money for you to get supplies that you need? Or do you have to put in a request to the city?
I guess that would be something I'd have to clarify as well. I don't see why, because it's for the Arts Commission and for programming at the center. So that'd be like events and things like that. I don't see why it couldn't go towards maybe supplies that would be needed at the center, especially, programming includes a lot of things. It could be materials for, let's just say, like putting away historical items or needing something to hang a piece or something. I don't see why it couldn't, but yeah, I'd have to again get clarification for you on the process, just so we have certainty on what that process is for, whether I make a request or I talk to the commission makes a request, and then that goes through approval or not. Yeah.
But the work you've done so far in setting up these quarterly showings of the historical items, did you incur a cost in setting up the two that we have so far?
The two exhibitions.
Pardon?
The two exhibitions, did we incur costs for that?
Yes.
So that was from a different budget. There was a different budget solely for furniture for the Arts and History Center, so that came from a different budget with a different amount of money. So it didn't come from the programming at all. It was a different amount, and that was used to buy all the furniture. Yeah, so no costs occurred with this budget. A different budget, we used a different funds for that, allotted for furniture.
But how about do you copy various things? It seemed like you had photographs that you put up on the wall. Did you copy them somehow, or?
No, those were photos that were in the Historical Society's collection, so just photos that I've gone through, in the files or in the boxes that were moved over from the last building. Yeah, so none of those were copied. I just got those from the collections themselves, really.
So, again, in putting together those displays, you haven't personally had to pay for anything?
Personally, no.
Okay.
No.
That's all I have for now.
Okay, that's very helpful to us, and that will be helpful going forward, especially to know kind of a clarification process, and probably like ultimately by when do we need to have expenditures so that we can meet that September 30th deadline. If we have projects or costs that would be very useful and helpful to us, we don't want to let that money not go used, and give the impression that, Art's not really concerned, but
Yeah.
we probably will need to start working on that pretty quickly
Yeah.
then to meet that September cutoff. So we need to know when it has to be submitted so we can get it into this year.
Yeah, I can bring that to the next meeting. I can ask for clarification on that, and then bring that to the next meeting, which would look, if we're doing the release, would be like end of July.
So that would give us August.
August. Yes. And I don't know if we'll need to spend all those funds by then,
Or if they carry over, that would be helpful to know.
Yeah, I don't believe they.
We may be able to get specific dates prior to that. However, anything approved would need to be certainly in a public meeting.
Yeah.
We will attempt to get those to you prior to the dates prior to the next meeting.
Okay. And can you just email that to us, or do we need to do that in the meeting?
Yes, we can email those to you. Once again, any decisions, though, would certainly need to be made within a public meeting.
Great, okay. That would give us just maybe a little heads up and give us a little time to think about that too before the July meeting and before that September deadline. I know that there have been some projects in the past we've been interested in, and you have to allow enough time for some public input, and you have to allow enough time to be able to contact the correct people, and then time to be able to get that all sort of put together. So I'm just trying to think ahead to being able to use those the best way we can, both for the center and for the program and for public art for CUNA, essentially. Okay? Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Leah. Then item C, under reports, events and schedule update for the CUNA Arts and History Center.
Yes, so this was put in here along with the template that we approved last time, just as an update of things that have happened and occurred at the center, or things that can possibly happen. So we have the grand opening that happened in March. In April, we had the ongoing was the first display, historical display, and we had the art pieces up. We also had participation-wise, we attended the Ross and Indian Creek Elementary School Carnival, where we had a booth and we had posters up advertising that the center was now open. And we had the living history presentation that was mentioned earlier the day after. And then at the end of May, May 29th, we had the next rotation for the historical exhibit that opened, and on the 23rd, I had the exhibit set up early so that the seniors from the senior center could visit. So they walked around the center, visited, looked at what we had to show for this exhibit as well. And for June, we'll still have the same exhibit, and as we discussed, putting that call to artists release out. And then looking for July, again, same history exhibit, letting that run at the end of July, looking to possibly select works and through the submissions that we receive, looking at the space we have as well. And tentative scheduling for a Rangers visit as well in July for our participation. But yeah, so I wanted to put that in here so we can get like a view of what the rest of the year will look like tentatively in the next couple months, plans that we have. Also spoke to during the senior center visit that they may possibly come in November as well for our holiday themed history exhibit. So those are some things that I wanted to put in here just as an update of things that have happened since the last meeting, things that we're planning on doing using that template.
Okay. And I would presume, because it looks like you are pretty much, you're on top of that history portion, and you have pieces and ideas and people. So will there be some ability to sort of be flexible in the performance portion? Because the performance, we may have performance in December, but short of that, we don't really have
No, so
art or
that's
performance yet.
yeah, that's hopefully where the submission will come in, because I made it so broad in the categories of arts. So we have performance arts in that submission, in that information packet. So people, as well as music. So if people are looking to or want to play music or perform at the center, they could submit an application to do so. So it is flexible. It's just a matter of if people submit those applications. And I do plan to disseminate that information packet and application out to different art societies and things like that, so that we can have a wide range and breadth of who it reaches.
Thank you. Okay. So that we can just beef up the art and the fine and traditional as well performance, and try to help get caught up on that history group. They're on top of it. All right. Anything else for the events and schedule?
No, that was primarily it. Just getting sort of a more in-depth overview of the rest of the year, and seeing things that could happen. You know, especially with that.
Nice. Okay, and then under reports D, we're looking at grants.
Yeah, so this was put in here because this is also something that was requested to be seen at the last meeting. These are just possible grants or put in here more so for grants that are out there available to be applied to. If we do, you know, since we don't actually have a project that we're working on currently, this was just to get an idea for things that grants could be used for. But if we do a grant, it would be for a larger amount, so that, you know, it just for a larger amount. But I put this in here because it was, you know, just to get an idea of what can happen with grants and things that we could do, really.
Okay, the other part of grants that I would be interested in is in that $25,000. If there would be an option to create grants from the city to fine artists or traditional artists, or someone, if we set up, okay, we would like this project done, can we use those funds to grant that to an artist to fulfill that project for us? So let's say we specifically wanted to have art that represented birds of prey. Could we have a grant that would allow fine artists to submit to us to say, yes, we will create that, and that will be part of what goes into, whether it's the halls of City Hall or whether it's in the arts and history displays. Those are the kinds of grants I'm kind of curious about.
Creating a grant fund from the city, we would need to take a look at. We can certainly see if that option is available, but I don't know if either of us have enough experience with the treasurer or speaking with our treasurer. We will certainly go ahead and do that if that is something that the commission is interested in, and then report back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. I know that, for example, the city of Boise, and they have way different funding than we do, does that kind of thing. And so I know I've applied and had those grant funds used to create a project for their purpose to be able to do in Boise. I'm just wondering if we can replicate that, at least at our appropriate level here, and kind of kickstart some of those things that would be healthy and helpful for the community too. So that's why I'm looking at dollars and amounts and when we could get that done. And if we are in the process of doing that, can we move some of those funds forward? Because we won't get that all done by September.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and especially like looking at other cities and what they do, I think that's good to do so as well, you know, so we can keep growing the programming here. But again, it would be something we'd have to ask and discuss more, whether that's a possibility or not, and I can get back to you on that to see if we can start doing that for sure.
Excellent. Excellent. I could just see that might be something that would kickstart some people and also has the artists doing the work rather than maybe okay, have to go find it or pick it up. Or
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would certainly like to see that happen, and if we are looking at larger projects, then I have done some writing in the past. I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm certainly willing to help as well. Just please know that I'd be glad to try to help with that too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anything else under grants? Any other comments or questions? Okay, then we have already moved to setting items for the next agenda. And that could possibly be in July. So it sounds like from our discussion, we would want to take a look at possibly finding art pieces that we would like to have displayed. Maybe getting just a little better feel of where or how those dollars would go from the budget. See if we could look at the possibility of grants and how that might look. And just from our discussion about grants and bigger projects, start thinking about what might be a nice big project that would be appropriate for the Arts Commission to get behind, whether that's an arts day or arts festival or I don't know, but there could be some kind of good ideas to start to kick around so that we can start the planning process. So those might be things that would be appropriate. Other items for the next agenda that anyone else would want to include?
Not for me. I think those are ones that I would agree to as well, putting those on the next one.
Okay. Are there any other items that we have neglected or that we need to discuss or at least cover? We are speedy.
I just have a question regarding our template here. The item for July through September says display CUNA beginnings. And what did you mean by that?
So that's just the title for the next rotation. It'll just be sort of the settlement and beginnings of CUNA, as the city. So that's what that means. It's just the title for the next rotation.
So it would be kind of the history of CUNA. And
Yeah, the beginnings more so than sort of like a wide range of its history. More focused on its beginnings, how it came to be a city. More so. But yes, history of CUNA.
and how recent would it come to? I mean, we could start at the very beginning of CUNA and how, up to what point would we try to cover? 1940, 1950, 2000, or?
So that
do you have
really,
an idea on that?
that comes a little bit later in the process. So I have, I have a general idea of the photos that will be put up for that as I get more into or later into the process. For example, like the display that's up right now regarding the high school. I know I have a general idea of the photos that I'll pull up and items, but as I look through more files that I've gone through months ago when setting up the center first and putting those documents away, I'll go through those again and really get in depth about what'll be in the display. So right now, I don't know, and it also depends on what's available in the collections, because it depends on the collections more so, what really goes into the display and what time it'll go up to. So I can't say definitely what, era or decade it'll go up to, just because I will have to go more in depth into that still.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, again, I thank you for your hard work and for your efforts. And we will look forward then to hearing from you probably before the next meeting. If not, then by the end of July, hopefully we'll have lots of good things to try to choose from. And with that, we will adjourn at 6:30.